Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another video. I hope you're doing very well. So today I'm here to do another sit down chatting kind of video because today I wanted to talk about my experience with talking therapy. So I mentioned previously that I have wanted to do this video for quite a while, but I keep on for some reason like postponing it, and I was doing my own kind of not research but just making sure that I was going to give you guys the right information. And yeah, so today I'm going to be talking about just my experience. So if you don't know what talking therapies is, it's essentially a counselling session that's funded by the NHS. Ways to get referred: you can refer yourself, so you can self-referral, or you can talk to your GP to send you a referral to the talking therapies, and then they'll contact you that way essentially. So I've had two sessions, two separate kind of talking therapies, like things to deal with, and yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about today. I guess it's a kind of a trigger warning about like depression and anxiety and just stuff like that, just kind of normal everyday things that we all deal with. But you know, some people feel uncomfortable listening to this type of stuff. I totally understand. Sometimes it's quite difficult to talk about as well, but I feel like I'm okay to kind of talk about them because, you know, we're all friends here. So, you know, it's just I'm just making sure that I give you guys the right information, because obviously I don't want to just mess things up. So yeah, the first time that I had a talking therapies kind of thing was around 2 years ago. So I went to my GP to talk about anxiety, and they said that they would refer me to talking therapy. So this was like way before obviously the whole COVID thing happened. So I went to them about anxiety because I know previously I've mentioned there was something that happened on a bus where I was surrounded by some schoolgirls. I know it sounds silly to kind of think out loud, but when you get harassed on a bus and you're just constantly watching your back, it's really kind of takes over your life, and it becomes really kind of unsettling and quite unnerving. And yeah, so I was dealing with that as myself. So I went to the GP, and then they referred me to the talking therapy. So what they did was that they phoned me for like an initial assessment. So they would call, and it would be about, was it like a 45-minute call, just asking you all these questions, as in, you know, what you are, why you're referring yourself, and how you're dealing with yourself mentally. And they did ask questions about, you know, if you're feeling suicidal, and I'm trying to remember like kind of other questions that they asked, because when you do join talking therapies, before you join every session, they ask you to fill out a form as to how your weeks have been. So essentially it was just trying to kind of get to know you a little bit better, and how they could adapt all these therapy sessions for you. So essentially they gave me two options when I did my kind of telephone session. They said you can either wait, I think it was either wait 6 months to be seen by a professional, or you could wait a shorter time and see someone who is training to be a professional, and they would always have someone kind of in the meetings to kind of watch over that person, or they would take out the notes and read stuff like that. And I was just honestly just kind of was just fine with it, like waiting a less time, because I thought if this person's training to be a counsellor, they're trained to be something, then yeah, I'll be happy to help them with that. So I chose the latter. So I actually got my sessions much quicker, and then I went for like my first session, and this was in Shadwell, so it's kind of like towards East London, and I got to meet my therapist essentially. And the first session was about an hour, so you would talk about your problems essentially, and therefore they would essentially tell you each week, you know, prior what you'll be talking about in that session. So I received 6 sessions, and they were 30 minutes each. So for me personally, I was at a time where I was working in Lush, and it was so strange because Lush can be very adaptable. Like this is not a video talking about Lush, but at the point of my life, that's when I was working there, and I was dealing with working there and having to like wanting to do like volunteering, so my hours were all over the place and stuff like that. But my therapy sessions, I believed, happened on a Tuesday at 10:30, I think, every morning. So I think it was like 10:30 or like 11:30, something like that. But I obviously had to go to every session, so prior to that I had to tell work and do this and do that. And what they essentially want you to do with the sessions is to have the appointments the same every week, just so you're part of some kind of routine, which I think is great as well. But obviously it's quite difficult if you work full-time or if you working in certain jobs that don't allow it. So I managed to kind of be able to adapt to all of that, so that was quite helpful. But for me, the 30-minute sessions just were a little bit strange, because you would get there and then you would have to either a day before or on the day you would fill out a self-assessment form. So like I mentioned, you would have to fill out how your week has been, or 2 weeks, or however it's been, just kind of like on a scale of 1 to 5 how you're doing, and then a scale of kind of again 1 to 5 of just it's just really weird questions that they would ask you, because you know, because of anxiety I would avoid this on a scale of 1 to 5 of like yes or no. You know, it's just certain questions that you kind of get used to because you're just so used to filling them out. So during those sessions I managed to kind of learn some breathing techniques and dealing with anxiety. It was quite strange because obviously talking to someone I've never met before, but obviously as you get more sessions you kind of become a bit more comfortable. 6 sessions I think was a good number. For me it takes a long time to get used to these type of sessions, because you're just pouring your heart out, or you're learning something new, and obviously you take home with you like these kind of documents that you read over and you practice over the week, like breathing techniques, and then you learn about the fight or flight sessions, which is, you know, what your body does when it's affected or when it's been threatened or something, like what you do. So I do feel like it helped my anxiety, and they were pushing me every week to kind of overcome certain things. So one of the things that I felt like during my anxiety is I always had to sit at the back of the bus, because essentially when I was, the whole thing that happened on the bus with those girls, I was sitting at the front of the bus and they were behind me, so I couldn't see behind me, so I didn't know what was happening. So every time during this whole time I would always go and sit right at the back of the bus, no matter what time of day it was, no matter where I was going, I always had to sit at the back. If I was with someone I could sit anywhere, that's fine, because I felt a bit more protected by being next to someone. But if I was by myself, I would always, like when I'd get on the bus, I would just pace myself right to the back. Or if I couldn't sit at the back, I would sit kind of towards the middle, but I would always try and have my hood up, or I would try and sit to the side so I could kind of understand what my surrounding was. And because I like wearing headphones when I go everywhere, I listen to music or whatever, obviously I don't know what's behind me or anything, so that kind of made me a bit more paranoid. But what they would try and do is during these sessions is kind of go, you know, why don't you try and sit this spot or this spot? And I'm like, I don't know, like the whole point with my anxiety is because I can't sit on certain spots. But they were like, no, but the whole point is that you try your best to overcome this problem and to just fight it. So I thought, okay, and you know, even still to this day, actually, no, I do feel like I don't always have to sit at the back. I do feel much more comfortable sitting wherever. I think now because of COVID, I think obviously not a lot of people are sitting near each other. The buses aren't as packed. They are, but they're not as packed. And I don't travel anywhere with like school kids. I mean, it's not even just the whole school kid situation. There has been other experiences when I've been on a bus and people have harassed me and I do overcome them, but obviously it sticks with you and just makes you kind of a bit more paranoid and a bit more frustrated. But yeah, I did like the sessions, like they were really kind of helpful. 6 sessions, like I said, was okay. By the time I got used to it, they finished. So it was kind of, I appreciated that I had them. So if you do feel like you have anxiety and you want to talk to someone about it, not always counselling might be the way. So going to talking therapies is a good version to kind of go to. And now I'll talk about the second reason I went to talking therapy. So this time I self-referred myself, and this is much later into last year. So I basically, actually, what I'm trying to think, no, it was, yeah. So this is around the time when I'm working in my current job, and this is into COVID now. So this is like me working from home and just the anxiety of not being able to see my family and just everything just kind of piling on top of me. So I self-referred myself for depression. So I had kind of contacted them because they sent me a message saying, oh, if you feel like this or if you're feeling down or whatever, please self-refer yourself. And I thought, you know what, let's see how this version goes, because it could be quite different than my anxiety one. So I did self-refer myself, and then they did call me in for a self-assessment, and this time they gave me the option of either joining a group session or doing kind of some kind of counselling by myself with an online system. So the online system is called Silver Cloud, and they explained to me first what it was. So you would go through all these different modules and you would have a therapist essentially, but they would only contact you a couple of times, which I thought was a little bit strange. So I did choose the online because I didn't feel as comfortable talking to a group session, and because I worked I worked 10 to 5, those hours just do not really work for me. And unfortunately, like, in the future, if I do want to do a group session, then I would work around that, because obviously my mental health is a lot more important than some things, as it should be. So yeah, I joined the Silver Cloud sessions, and the first time was I got a call from my therapist who explained to me the whole system. And because it's quite strange, she ended up being on leave for like a whole month. So I was like, okay, I'm just starting these sessions and this person's already going on leave, which is fine because obviously they're living their life, whatever. And there was altogether, there was about 10 or 12 sessions online. So each module is about different ways of like noticing depression and anxiety, because the anxiety and depression kind of like merged in together. So yeah, I kind of spoke to her altogether about maybe 3 times on the phone, and that was me doing these kind of modules every few weeks, I guess. So it was quite a long session, which worked really well, because each module had like an introduction, and it had some kind of studies to do, like things to like activities. That's it. So there was different things that you could do, like, you could monitor your mood levels, you could again do the fight or flight kind of information, and then yeah, just kind of making yourself a routine, because obviously a lot of the reasons why I was feeling like this was because of COVID and just being locked in and not being able to do normal things, and just my own mental health issues have just been all over the place over the past few years. So I thought if I did something like this, it would help me understand why I feel like this. I can honestly say I don't think it has helped me as much, even though recently I have been feeling quite good here and there. I think because, I go through so many different mood swings, so I feel like if I do feel like I'm about to have some kind of anxiety attack or something, I could listen to certain type of audio that they have on the Silver Cloud, or I can listen to some kind of music that I like, or anything to kind of distract me, which we all have our own different methods, which is totally great. The modules that I have, I can keep my login for up to 90 days. I think it's like a year that I can keep like logging in and going through the modules and looking at different things that I want to achieve and what I want to do and stuff like that. So it's really, really helpful to have the Silver Cloud. But I feel like maybe if counselling might be a bit more easier for me. But again, I don't know if that's something I can do, if it's something I have to pay for. I know obviously a lot of sessions you do pay for, but then you don't, you can just self-refer. But of course, because of COVID, there's so much like restrictions and so much happening that I feel like I can wait a while, maybe. And like I'd said previously, I wanted to self-refer myself again for my skin picking, but I got a message from them saying that because I'm still in the old session, I'm still in the second session of my talking therapies, I can't be accepted for a third session, which, you know, is okay. It's a bit frustrating because I feel like this is a situation that I do need to deal with, because it's bad, especially because my rosacea is it flares up quite a lot recently, and I know I don't help myself by doing it, but it's an instinct that I can't stop, and I know that I'm doing it, and as soon as I notice I'm doing it, I have to stop myself and force myself to like do something else. But you know, that's just a way that I need to try and overcome this problem. So hopefully in the future they can accept me again. But yeah, those were my experiences for talking therapies. I know it's like kind of a long video with a lot of information, or maybe not a lot of information. I apologize, but if you do feel like you need to talk to someone about your issues, talking therapies is a very good way to do that. There is waiting lists like most like counselling therapy sessions, but it's worth it. Obviously a lot of online sessions are happening, and group sessions or solo sessions, whichever you prefer. So I would definitely recommend going to it, especially when it's something by the NHS, because they need, you know, as much support as possible, I guess. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions, please ask away in the comment section, or if you want to message me on my Instagram or anything, my DMs are open for those type of questions, nothing else, thank you. But yeah, don't forget to follow me on my social media and everything as well. And I really appreciate you guys watching the video. I hope you're staying healthy. Hope you're staying healthy, safely. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, because I film and upload every time I get a chance to, all over the place. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.